Salmon dial watches are named after the colour of salmon flesh. This ranges between light orange to almost white in nature. But when we're talking about watch dials, generally it's used to describe a tone that is a light gold with a hint of pink to it. If we're talking origins, there are grades in metallurgy used to rank how much copper content is present in gold, with the middle ground of 3N generally being thought of as the salmon tone. Now, you're not going to get an actual gold salmon dial under $1,000, so the purpose of this video is to explore what you can get your hands on. I'm going to be using my standard set of rules for this video, which I'll just flash up on screen for anyone who hasn't seen one of my list videos before. With all that said, let's get into this. One thing I respect about this model compared to some of its rivals is that it isn't trying to be something that it's not. It's a Chinese brand, so why shouldn't the dial print work be in Chinese? Clearly this is aimed at their domestic market, but if you can look past that language barrier, it's actually a really attractive watch. You're getting a 38mm dress model on a beads of rice bracelet which is 12mm thick and has a lug-to-lug of 45mm, making this very accessible to most wrist sizes. Unlike any other watch I've ever seen, part of the advertising for this model is the machined processes it goes through. Make of that what you will. While my own personal experience with the Baltany 1921 is with the white dial variant, I think the salmon offering is no less appealing, and really for me it was a toss-up between the two as to which one I ordered. The only real downside to my report from my time with the watch is the obvious unoriginality of this homage. If that doesn't bother you, the styling is going to be utterly unique in almost any collection, and the specifications make this pretty solid value for money. There's a full review on my channel if you want more information on this particular model. When I read through the comments on my videos, Orient is the one brand that always comes up that I've overlooked, and it's high time I got some personal experience with them, and so I do have a model on order. The 40mm Mako is an option that I've considered to that end, and definitely makes for strong competition to the budget offerings of its rivals at this price point. This particular colourway pairs up really nicely with the tan leather NATO strap that it ships with, and that does in turn cut the price compared to buying other models in the range on a metal bracelet. I was concerned when I found out that Citizen have put out a salmon dialed Seiko that I would find myself putting it in yet another list video, but no fear, because they've actually got quite a few budget salmon dial models. Not just the Seiko, but also the NJ018980Z, which retails for around $350, and then my pick of the bunch, the AW013085ZE, which is around $20 more. I just think the dial texture, print work and date window look a little bit more refined, even if the sub-second dial is a big loss. The nice thing here is if you don't agree with me on that, you're actually sport for choice when it comes to Citizen. This is perhaps the most obvious inclusion on the list, but no less deserving of a place because of that. The MR01 is perhaps best known for its micro rotor movement and slim sizing, though I think the Breguet numerals are also up there as a very desirable selling point. The quality of the dial is not to be overlooked though, with its subtle hue, sandy texture and beautifully executed minute track. The only downside of this piece for me is the rotor, which is a little bit on the noisy side. Once again, if this piece interests you, there is a full review on my channel. Vario boasts that this model is made entirely from custom parts, which is actually something I think you could have made some assumptions about already given its unique look. It takes inspiration from Art Deco design, which I'll be honest, I'm no expert in, so I think the keenest insight I personally could give is that it wouldn't look out of place featuring in Rapture City from BioShock. I think the two clear highlights of the watch are the dial and the handset. The dial is segmented and each ring is finished in a different style. The hands are similarly all unique, while all clearly feeling part of the same greater whole. A word of caution on this watch though, while they made it in 4 colours, each is limited to 90 pieces, so depending on when you see this video you might have to act fast, or it may well already be too late to snag one. If I weren't in the process of desperately trying to save for a spring drive, I would own one of these models already. I've said in the past that it would be amazing if they made an ultra thin version of the 37mm, and while I still think that's true, that doesn't mean to say that the 37 itself is a bad option. Far from it in fact. I think the Côte de Genève finishing on the dial is excellent. You're also getting a Solita movement and Swiss made on the dial, and at this price point I think it makes for real competition for the PRX Automatic as far as 70s inspired budget sports watches go. I'll be honest, it took quite a bit of hunting to find one of these under $1,000, and I found this price from a shop based in Singapore, so it might tip the scales over $1,000 depending on where you live. Now I'll say this softly, but the Arigaki as it's known is listed on Seiko's website as a woman's model. But I'm not sure they've actually told anyone that, as all the models for it from retailers are men and it's 40.2mm in diameter. That aside, I think while not overtly showy, this is a really nice piece with a textured dial, butterfly clasp, exhibition caseback and fantastic finishing. The Nova range is a bit of an outlier compared to most of the Zelos brand aesthetic. A lot of their models are chunky, large and angular. Not so the Nova, but this model does share the other key brand identity, an interesting dial. This model comes with a guilloche dial which is reminiscent of that of the Seiko Mojito, but I think it's actually executed better here. You're also getting a subsector dial, an ETA 7001 movement with Côte de Genève style engraving, and a beautiful set of dimensions for a dress watch, with a thickness of 8.5mm with the box sapphire and 7mm without, 38mm in diameter and 44mm lug to lug. I think this is the classiest watch Zelos have ever released, and easily deserving of my recommendation for this video. While this may be named after Sorbet, not salmon, this is almost the exact colour that I actually think of when I hear the word salmon, so I figured it wouldn't hurt as an inclusion on the list. The Swiss-made Le Jeu Perret G101 has soigné finishing, which is a French term meaning either careful or well groomed, and I wholeheartedly apologise if my pronunciation is off. Either of which is appropriate terminology to describe the attention to detail on display here. You might well have seen the new Lumiere launch recently from Christopher Ward, and while certainly not the same, I do think the Resolute's numerals have a similar look to them. So there we have it. What are, in my opinion, the 10 best salmon dial watches available under $1,000. I'm sure that there are watches that I may have overlooked or simply am unaware of though, so let me know what you would change about my list in the comments section below. As ever, thank you for your time. If you've enjoyed what you've seen or found it informative, consider dropping the video a like and subscribing for more content like this.